Morning, friends. This is Vivek Palluri. Today's topic for learning um, is primary data from business research methods subject. So, there are two types of data, that is primary data and secondary data, where prominently we see in collecting of a data. When, when a research is to be conducted, definitely data is to be or data, we may call them as a fuel for an engine, is very much required. In the same way, for a research, data is very much required. So, at what sources we take data is also very important. Either a primary data or a secondary data. To understand the primary data are those which are collected afresh and for a first time, and thus happens to be original in character. Okay, the primary data is a fresh data. It's fresh data, and for a first time, thus happens to be a original in character. But coming to secondary data, it is already published or it is already used by some other in different researches also. So there are different types of primary data. If you see here, data, primary data can be collected through various like sensors, through various measurements, through observations, interviews, surveys, experiments, and likewise, if you can see geographical data, machine data, even event data, through events also we can collect it data. So let us move into the methods of primary data collection. So observation method is one method where we can collect the data. Observation, in the word itself, we able to understand that observation for a time period. You can see that the observation method is the most commonly used method, specifically in studying related to the behavioral sciences. The way we are all observing things around us, but this sort of observation is not scientific observation. But here, in a point of a research, observation becomes a scientific tool in the method of a data collection for the researcher, and it serves as a formulated research purpose, is systematically planned and recorded, and is subjected to checks and controls on validity and reliability. So, continuously, if a person or a researcher is undergoing an observation for a time period, for a length of a time period, he will get a data. So those observations are considered, and the data which is collected in that observation is used for the research also. Interview method. Under this interview method, there are two types of interviews, that is personal interview. Personal interview method requires a person known as an interviewer asking your questions, generally in a face-to-face contact to other person or persons. Generally, personal interviews will be one-on-one only, face-to-face. Second one, it is telephonic round. Definitely, it is flexible mode and it is faster than other methods, and it is cheaper in cost when coming compared to the one-on-one interview. And this telephonic interview is a method of collecting information consisting in contacting the respondents on a telephone itself. It is not a very widely used method, but plays an important part in the industrial service, particularly in developed regions. The chief merits of such as the systems are follows. You can see it is more flexible, it is faster than other methods, it is cheaper one. You can recall very easy. The higher rate of responses will be there, and the replies can be recorded, and no field of staff is required researcher directly can contact the respondents or target respondents with the help of telephone. Method number 3, collection of a data through questionnaires. So, framing a questions, giving an options which is required for the responder, and collecting the responses from the questionnaire is also one method. This method of data collection is quite popular, particularly in case of big inquiries. It is being adopted by private individuals, research workers, private and public organizations, and even by governments. In this method, a questionnaire is sent usually by post to the persons concerned the request to answer the questions and return the questionnaire. And these are some merits and demerits of questionnaire. Before moving into that merits and demerits, let us see um, some of the essentials of good questionnaire. So to be successful, questionnaire should be comparatively short and simple. It should not be very lengthy. More than 70, 80 questions, 100 questions should be comparatively short one. And the questions which we frame in that questionnaire should be very simple. That is, the size of a questionnaire should be kept in minimum. Questions should be proceed in a logical sequence, moving from easy to more difficult questions. So there should not be a mixture of that. But if a questionnaire is arranged simple to complexity, that would be good. And the personal and intimate question should be left to the end. So anything, the technical terms and vague expressions capable of different interpretations should be avoided in the questionnaire. Questions may be dichotomous, yes or no answers, multiple choice questions, or open-ended can be introduced in this questionnaire. The later type of questions are often difficult to analyze and hence should be avoided in a questionnaire to the extent possible. There should be some control questions in the questionnaire which indicate the reliability of a respondent. For instance, question designed to determine the consumption particular material may be. Let us see the process of designing a questionnaire. So, point 1, specify the information needed. The first and foremost step in the design in the questionnaire is to specify the information needed for the respondent such that the objective of a survey is fulfilled. Then point number 2, define the target respondents. Until unless the target respondents are not defined, it won't be possible to procure the data from various respondents. Like at the very outset, the researcher must identify the target respondent from whom the information is to be collected. The questions must be designed keeping in mind the type of respondents under study, such as the questions that are appropriate for servicemen might not be appropriate for a businessman. Okay. Moving to third one, specify the type of interview method. Next step is to identify the way in which the respondents are reached. Personal interview, the respondents is presented with the questionnaire and interacts face to face with the interviewer. Because it is a lengthy, complex, and varied questions can be asked using the personal interview method. If it is in a telephonic interview, answers are given at over a telephone. Here, the respondents cannot see the questionnaire. Hence, this method restricts the use of small, simple, and precise questions. Fourth one, determine the content of an individual questions. Once the information needed is specified and the interview method are determined, the next step is to decide the content of a question. The researcher must decide on what should be included in the question such that it contribute to the information needed or serve some specific purposes. That may be indirect questions, that may be double-barreled questions. Okay. Then coming to fifth one, overcome respondents' inability and unwillingness to answer. So it is all about the questions what they frame in this questionnaire should be kept in the view of respondents' IQ levels. The language should be very simple, and the frame of the question is also understandable by everyone. And there should be a good filter for the respondent to take and give the responses. Sometimes respondents maybe feel like unwilling to answer. Such questions also try to is to be avoided. 6.1, decide on the question structure, whether it is open-ended question or a closed-ended question. 7th one, determining the question wording, words which are easily understood or to be or desired to be a content of that structure. If the framing of a question is complicated, that would become very hard for the responder to give response on time, or they may avoid giving the answers. So it is very important to determine the question's wording also. Next, determine the order of a question. Definitely the sequence in which the question are to be asked, whether it is open-ended questions or whether it is closed-ended questions. Later, identify the forms and layout. The format, positioning, and spacing of a questions has a significant effect on the results. The layout of a question is specifically important for the self-administrated questionnaires. So the questionnaire must be divided into several parts, and each part shall be numbered accurately to clearly define the branches of a question. Lastly, a reproduction of a questionnaire. The appearance of a questionnaire, that is, quality of a paper on which the questionnaire is either written or printed. In case the questionnaire is reproduced on the poor quality paper, then the respondent might feel that research is unimportant, due to which the quality of a response gets adversely affected. Presenting, definitely testing of a questionnaire of a few selected respondents, the sample of an actual respondents with the purpose of improving the questionnaire by identifying and eliminating the potential problems. Fourth method is, after the till now we have seen the method of questionnaire, but coming to the fourth method, that is collection of a data through schedules. So various schedules are at various job works. Also gives various data to the researcher for better outcomes. If we see the fifth one, some other methods of data collection are warranty cards also give some data for the researcher. Second one, distributor or a store audits also will give some information for the researcher, and pantry audits, definitely that will also give the enough information for the researcher. The consumer panels at their discussions also, the outcomes of the discussions can also be taken as a inputs. Use of mechanical devices, even eye camera, pupil-metric cameras, psychogalvanometers. So likewise, if you see biometrics or even face detecting machines, also give some picture motion cameras, audiometers, or also some other tools where we can get primary data that can be used for the better um, responses. And even we can see the depth interviews. The researcher can drill down the topic or a question for a better insights of that response. The researchers can undergo a depth interview also. So content analysis can also be done. Depends upon the genuinity of content. that is books, magazine, newspapers, and other verbal materials. So there are few merits and demerits of primary data. Degree of accuracy is quite high. It is one of the merit, and it does not require extra caution. It depicts the data in a great detail. And primary source of data collection frequently includes definitions of various and units used. For some investigations, secondary data are not available. Coming to demerits, collection of a data require a lot of time, requires a lot of finance. In some inquiries, it is not possible to collect primary data. It requires a lot of labor. It requires a lot of skill. That's all for this page on this topic. Hope you got um, a brief understanding on topic called primary data, which is very important for research. Yeah. Thank you.